by the news that came down on Tuesday because it was literally right after I uploaded Tuesday's edition of Brandon's World, which was that Robert Saleh is no longer the head coach of the New York Jets. And with my interview yesterday with Sean Fitzgerald, which you can check out whether on YouTube or audio, again, we talked all things MLB playoffs. We talked a lot of NFL. We talked some college football. We talked about the Jets and Robert Saleh and Aaron and everything going on there in New York. And to me, the most fascinating aspect of this firing was the reporting that came out after Robert Saleh was fired. Not only was he escorted out of team security, but then reports came down later. Of course, he talked to Jay Glazer from Fox. Jay Glazer, in my opinion, is better than Adam Schefter at this point at getting the inside scoops. He is the person I trust the most in the NFL sports media business. He obviously, as I mentioned, told Jay Glazer he was blindsided, but then he told Jonathan Jones later on in the day that he was considering firing Nathaniel Hackett, excuse me, the Jets offensive coordinator. And if that part is true, there is a report out there, and Woody Johnson issued a statement that he met with Aaron Rodgers Monday night. Woody Johnson says that he denies anything about talking about the firing of head coach Robert Saleh during Monday's meeting. But they did talk about the game, which is absolutely laughable to think about that you would talk about the game and not talk about your head coach and decision making. I mean, does Woody Johnson think we're all stupid? And Eric Mangini, actually, who is a collaborator at Fox Sports, he comes on the First Things First show a lot. He obviously former head coach of the Jets, and he said that London game, if the Jets look bad, if they get embarrassed, Woody Johnson is an ambassador in London. He has great friends in London. A lot of the people were at the game, and then if the Jets look terrible, that could be a bad look for Robert Saleh. And boom, Coach Mangini nailed it. However, if the reporting is being true that Robert Saleh did think about firing Nathaniel Hackett, he probably did run that by ownership and Woody Johnson. Woody Johnson ran that by Aaron Rodgers, and Aaron Rodgers said, "We're not firing my guy Nathaniel Hackett. He's not the problem. It's okay. We only scored 9 points against Denver. We got shut out in the first half against Minnesota. The Jets defense held them to 6 points in the second half, made Sam Darnold look like the Jets in Carolina Sam Darnold again. That's okay. We can just rid of Robert Saleh." Now, listen, I don't think Robert Saleh is the greatest head coach in the world. I think he's a rah-rah guy. He seemed a little disorganized at times, but the bottom line is the Jets players played hard for him. This wasn't a quit on you situation. They played hard for him again, even on Sunday. And I do wonder if Aaron Rodgers doesn't throw his 3 interceptions. The pick six was the difference in the game. If Aaron, doesn't throw 2 of those interceptions, let's say, and the Jets win the game, does Robert Saleh have a job today? Very interesting component. Um, but this is the sign to me of a bad run organization. Again, the Jets defense was never the issue. I believe this is year 4 now under Robert Saleh. They had Zach Wilson for 2 years. Obviously, that was a disaster. They bring in Aaron Rodgers to fix the offense, to run the offense. Doesn't work because Aaron Rodgers gets hurt last year. But there was that viral moment. There was the chest bump moment on the sideline that Aaron did not seem cool with. There was the comments about the cadence from Robert Saleh, which Aaron then denied. So maybe there was cracks in the relationship, and hindsight is 2020. We should have all seen this coming. But for the Jets to be 2-3, and I'll talk about this in my NFL Week 6 best bets and money line picks. They beat the Bills on Monday, and historically interim head coaches, which Jeff Albrecht is going to be the interim head coach. He was the loud guy on Hard Knocks, defensive coordinator, former player, seen more as a tougher guy than Saleh. Teams play very well when they have an interim coach the first week. So if the Jets do defeat Buffalo, which right now they're 2.5 point dogs, on Monday night, the scene where Aaron Rodgers did tear his Achilles, now they come back there with a completely new head coach, which is wild. They're in first place. in a bad AFC East where now Drake May is starting and probably going to get thrown to the Wolves in New England, and Miami does not have a quarterback yet. And they could be, 2-5, 2-6 by the time Tua Tagovailoa comes back. So there's a lot of uncertainty there. But again, bottom line is Jets could be in first place, and yet they have a new interim head coach. And only Rich Bisaccia has taken over midway through the season as an interim head coach and gotten his team to the playoffs. Did not win that playoff game, of course, against Cincinnati. But that was more of a firing of the emails that John Gruden made, and not because they were a bad football team. I think the Jets have serious issues on the offense side of the ball. The fact that now, obviously, you got Randall Cobb there, you have Alan Lazard there. If the Jets do get Devontae Adams, which we all are now expecting to happen, potentially even more, you bring in Devontae Adams. Nathaniel Hackett is the OC. It could be Packer Light down there in New York. It just shows that the Jets are showing their soul for Aaron Rodgers. Similarly, obviously not money wise in the way the Browns sold their soul for Deshaun Watson. How did that work out? Aaron Rodgers has not been good this year. The offensive line is beat up. I understand that. But Mike Williams has not contributed as a number two wide receiver. They cannot run the football. And even though I picked the Jets to potentially win the AFC East this year for the first time since 2002, I had caveats to it. All of these caveats are now coming ahead. Again, for Saleh, I think he's a smart guy. I don't think he'll be out of football for the rest of the year. There's some teams that could need some defensive assistance on the staff. He's got relationships in San Francisco. Maybe he goes back there and helps out the Niners in whatever way possible. Probably will get a defensive coordinator job again before he gets a head coaching job again. I think Saleh's a decent coach. I don't know how great of a head coach he is, but this firing in particular was not his fault. Like that clip from the Brand's World podcast? If so, make sure you go down there and hit that subscribe button. While you're down there hitting the subscribe button, make sure to also hit the notification bell so you never miss another upload. And make sure you check out all the other clips from the Brand's World podcast right here on YouTube.